All right, Haunted House fans, we're here to bring you another Hauntworld the Movie. This one's part 5, and I believe it's the year 1999. So we're gonna do an interview with Neal from Rocky Point Haunted House. I know you're gonna love that. You're gonna see a behind the scenes tour, kind of like a walkthrough of the old Rocky Point, which is no longer in existence. You're also gonna see Pirates of the Emerson, that's from Carl Fields. A tour of Live from Horror Hill with Rich Hanf. He's gonna walk you through and show you some of his favorite scares in this video. There's a guy in Chicago, he's like huge in pinball now. He like sculpts custom toys and mechs for Jersey Jack pinball. And he used to have a haunted house called the Asylum Experience. And you're gonna get an interview with him, and he's gonna talk about how they've made all these cool sets and props. There's also gonna be a really funny segment from Dr. Lady from Horror Hotel. Castle Blood does a makeup tutorial. And then there's like a little clip of TerrorVision's 3D in the back. So you're gonna love this video. It's Hauntworld the Movie Part 5. Make sure you like and subscribe to the page, because every time that we upload another one, you'll get a notification. Also lately, we've been like touring around and doing tours of haunts and attractions, and we're uploading to this page. We're doing it for fun. So make sure you like and subscribe and let us know what you think of the videos, and tell us what other videos you'd like to see. So now, without further ado, we're going all the way back to like the year 2000 to see what the haunted house industry was like, what, 22, 23 years ago. So here we go. Hauntworld the Movie, Part 5. Hello, Fright fans out there in Haunted World. You're probably wondering what the heck this is. It's called an Echo mic, and actually you can pick it up at like a toy store for just a couple dollars, and it makes weird sounds like this. It's pretty neat actually when you call people on your on the phone, or you talk to the press. Or anything like that. It just adds a little nice touch. And maybe when you're making your answer machine for your haunted house, when people call in and what they listen to, this could come in handy, don't you think? Remember, we'll be open this weekend.
it's things like this that make the little touch that makes the haunted house that much better. It's going to get that many more people in the door. This is just one of millions of things we're going to try to cover in Hauntworld the Movie Part 5. And I also believe we're making a Part 6. There's been a lot of jokes on the internet about Part 55,000 or whatever, which brings up an interesting question. How many more will we make? I guess as long as you guys out there keep wanting them and keep sending in great footage and information for us to provide, that's, I guess, how long we'll keep making them. They are a lot of work, and I think it's possible that we'll make another one next year, Part 7. Maybe then we'll skip to Part 13. Did anybody ever see House? There was House 1, there was House 2, and then mysteriously it skipped to House 4. So I think maybe we'll go from maybe Part 6 to Part 13, something like that. I'm not quite sure yet. So, what do we have to talk about in Hauntworld the Movie, Part 5? Well, in Hauntworld the Movie, Part whatever it is, Part 5, I believe. You're probably seeing these, and back here in the computer screen, you're seeing, let me see, meow. And let's see again, meow. That's because you can't shoot a TV set or a computer screen or anything like that with a camcorder or any kind of photography equipment. You actually have to tap into the computer itself to tape it, which we're not doing that because we're low budget, okay? So let's talk about a few things, and please ignore the lines moving around. There's a lot of new things going on at hauntworld.com, not hauntedworld.com, which not Andy Kaufman, who I'm a big fan of, but Lloyd Kaufman kept referring to Hauntworld as haunted.com. I'm not going to make the same mistake, and that's going out to you, Rich. So lots of new things have happened since last year. The St. Louis Rams won the Super Bowl. Wait a minute, what does that have to do with Hauntworld? Just forget about it. Lots of interesting things are going on. Hauntworld, as you probably know, as you're seeing this tape, you've probably been already on Hauntworld since March, and that's when these tapes are coming out at the Halloween show. Hauntworld.com at the end of February was uploaded as the all-new website, and you can see a little bit of that behind me. So as you may already know, we've changed a lot of things on Hauntworld, as we've already gone over: the auction, the online store, the Pumpkin 101 section, greeting cards, consumer surveys, everything that we've done. And the next step obviously is we've got a team of people working on flashing the website, creating an interactive haunted house, creating online games, all kinds of neat stuff. So that'll all be coming up. Now, one of the things I want to mention to you is that I want you to stay tuned to the end of this video, because I have a very sincere and something that you might be interested in. If you own a haunted house, you'll want to watch the end of this tape. It'll talk about the plans, the future plans of hauntworld.com. I didn't want to put that in at the beginning because this tape is supposed to mainly focus on building haunted houses. So that's at the very end, after the credits, so you'll want to check that out. And as you may know already, we did have a sponsorship program last year, and we made this brochure. I don't know if you can see it. It has all the haunted houses on the back. We got bigger things planned for this coming year. Now, you all bought this video to learn more about haunted houses and see some haunted houses. And last year at the Halloween show, I had a chance to talk to Sydney Neal. I interviewed her, and I asked her a lot about different things in the haunted house business, about marketing and her attraction and how she does it. And she had a lot of interesting things to say, and we're going to take a look at that interview, and we're also going to get the opportunity to take a peek inside of Sydney Neal's haunted house in Salt Lake City called Rocky Point Haunted House. She had two haunted houses. One was in Ogden and one was in Salt Lake City. The one in Ogden won't be opening this next year. She sold that one. So we're down to the one, and luckily we have footage, and I think you're going to be very impressed. It was one of the best haunted houses that I've ever seen, and I had the pleasure of seeing it in person, and you can take my word on it that it was very, very good. Now, before we jump to Sydney Neal, one of the things you may notice that Dr. Frightener is missing. We don't know what happened to him. He's gone. He disappeared. and there's no telling what happened to him. Now, getting back to Dr. Frightener, I'm not sure, and we have called the authorities, the Ghostbuster Patrol, and it's believed that a notorious villain, another specter named Dr. Speculo, has something to do with Dr. Frightener's disappearance, and I don't believe he'll be making an appearance on this particular videotape, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Well, I'm going to tell you something, Dr. Speculo. I guarantee... Did you just throw that at me? Did you just throw that piece of paper at me? Well, let me tell you something, Dr. Speculo. Before this tape's over, I will definitely get even with you. Now, we've definitely got to skip right on over to Salt Lake City, and but first stop, let's take a look at Sidney Neal's interview at the last year's Halloween Transworld show, and then we'll jump right into Rocky Point Haunted House.
Hi, I'm Sidney Neal. I have 2 haunted houses in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is our 20th year for one and 8 years for another, so we've had a few fun nights of scaring people. I got into this business about 14 years ago, probably a little differently than a lot of the other haunters, and it was not because I liked Halloween or anything to do with horror. To this day, I still can't watch a horror movie, but I do like scaring people. I have enjoyed that. My background is in entertainment, and we just happen to have a great building who my brother started a haunted house, and I took it over and swore that was the last year I was going to be doing it, but 14 years later, we're still doing it and loving it, having a great time with it. I think our place has been a little different from the beginning just because my background, again, has not been in horror or really scaring people, but I think we're in this business to entertain people, and my haunted houses a lot of times are not gory, but they are fun and scary, and some of it is fun, and some people may do it differently, but ours, we have 75,000 people a year come through who are having a great time, so I'm in the entertainment business, and they're entertained in a lot of different ways, but yes, they still have to be scared when they come through. Some of the ways that we found to entertain people in line is one thing is that we have a long line outside. We have several actors go up and down the lines. We have entertainers, we have jugglers, we have people on stilts. A lot of things there with our theme. This year our theme was It's Out of This World and about aliens, and the government had moved in, set up an Area 51, kind of a special area that you had to get clearance to get in to see the crash site of the alien ship. We had the Army set up out front with their big guns and things that people could use. We also have some rides and things outside. Inside we have about a 10,000 square foot waiting area with television sets, the radio station sets up inside, a lot of entertainment going on before they even get to the opening of the show. The museum that we have a lot of movie props in happens before they even buy their ticket. So, and the audience seems to like that. We're in a cold area in October, and so we have to be able to keep people inside if the weather's bad. One of the reasons why I decided to change my theme every year is probably because this is 14 years in the business, and I'm a really creative person, and I have that much more creativity to do the whole show instead of just one room. I think I might get bored doing that, so a lot of that is for my personal preference, but we have created a need within our market to do that because our customers come back to see a whole entirely different show every year, and consequently 20 years after being in business, we continue to nearly double our income every year. I seem to have been given the title of the person who knows a lot about sponsorships in this business, and I think that I've been successful in finding good sponsors and keeping good sponsors, and some things that are important in finding and keeping sponsors are, first of all, have a great product to sell, know the value of your product, know why they should be involved, always take really terrific care of them. Make sure you have a great proposal, very professional. You have a professional production. This is no longer a simple little Halloween event anymore, and sponsors are being asked for their money every day from many more people than they were when we first got in this business. So you need to be able to compete with those people. But the sponsors are there. They want to be at our shows. It's a very popular event, and when you put through 75,000 people of their target market, they want to be there. So just make sure you have a product and know the value of that product to back it up, and they'll be right with you. One of the things in this business that I have found is that people are in it to have a great time, and people are in it because they love Halloween. But in order to continue in this business year after year, and in order to be successful, you have to make money and you have to make a profit, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you need to deal with it the same way you deal with any other business. You need to budget out your money. Make sure up front, before you even get into the business, that you have a budget that you're going to be able to meet some financial goals that you've set. Then you've got to stick with that budget and not overspend. There's a lot of props out there, and there's a lot of people who can say, oh, buy this, buy that, and you need this prop and that prop, but a lot of times you just need to be able to create some, and some of the best scares in the haunted house are the simplest. So really work within a budget. Make sure before you start you already know that you're going to have a profitable year if you take in if you put through the number of people that you expect to put through. And then just make sure, again, you have a terrific product. Safety is incredibly important, because you can have all the pieces in place and be shut down in the middle of your show and then not be able to bring in the income. So make sure you follow all the safety requirements, and make sure your promotions are terrific. You've got to advertise. You've got to compete with some pretty big people these days. I don't know how anybody would come into my market these days and compete with me and another one of our competitors. We've just been there a long time. We've established ourselves. We spend a lot of money on our haunted houses, but I know for myself, I'm not sure, I can't speak for him, but I would guess that we both are profitable businesses, and because we handle them as businesses. Some of the ways that we have found to promote our attraction, some of them are similar of everybody else. We use a lot of television. We do a terrific television commercial. We do a lot of radio. We have the radio station at our place every night. We have sponsors that promote it within their stores and locations all over town. We do discount coupons. We have all kinds of promotions going on with the radio station, giveaways. Our sponsors have their own giveaways going almost every night. We give something away at the haunted houses, try to get as much television coverage and press as we can, and that's by being creative. Also, it is being professional, and I have a promotional person who does nothing but go out and get press. We're on the television, on the radio, in the newspaper constantly, and we try to do a lot of unique things, some things that make us stand out from our competitors. I think it's always important that you try new things. You don't want to go too far out on a limb, and I'm not a huge risk taker, but I do have to take some risks and try new things all the time with my promotions, with my shows. Obviously, my shows change drastically, and I think it's always been a good thing for us to continue to try new things. Get creative. You don't have to be the only one to think those things up. If you have sponsors, your radio station, your television station, have them help you try some new promotions and things. Sometimes you may not find that is of value to you. Sometimes you will, but you'll never know unless you take the risk. Thanks for taking the time with me, and I hope that I've been some help with you. Great, good luck in your haunt, and come along with us and I'll show you a few things that we've done.
to get very many visitors after dark. Live ones, that is. Our visitors usually don't stay very long. Of course, our visitors usually don't live very long either. Welcome to your doom.
Continuez pas à
I'm lost in these lives. Can't you see I'm no madman? I'm a sane man fighting for his very soul. I brought you lives, master. Grant me what you promised me.
Je ne peux boire de la vie éternelle. Reste ici et je te donne. Mais ma maître a besoin de quelqu'un d'autre. C'était bon.
Dr. Frankenstein. I have been waiting for you. On this beautiful night, I am going to create life from death. Fritz, bring my creature to life. It's alive. It's alive.
I'm a freaking clown. I'm a product of toxic waste. In order for you to get out of your life, I have to give you a nuclear radiation hypodermic and then suck your blood out.
Get that thing out of my face! Move on! I said move on!
messenger from God. Go back, or something gets you too. Something evil is out this way. I warn you. A little bit off the top.
I can't believe you're still using that old cleanser.
Well, what do you use, Madge?
I use Spine Sol. It cleans all the way down.
It's tingling, Madge.
That's because Spine Sol uses thousands of acidic scrubbing bubbles that scour everything they touch.
Actually, it is burning, Madge.
That's because it cleans all the way down, Marge.
Ah! My hand is on fire!
But look at that shine.
Spine Sol, it cleans all the way down.
I think you can easily tell after visiting Sydney Neal's haunted house that that she's just a remarkable talent in this industry. She has a lot of interesting comments that she made about haunted houses. You can tell that she's very articulate, and I will highly suggest that you take a visit out to Rocky Point Haunted House next Halloween out there in Salt Lake City. Now, a shameless plug for a good friend of mine named Jeff Glatzer. He put out this magazine called Scared Stiff. I seen Jeff at his booth last year at the Halloween show, and I was like, another magazine. Another magazine. Let me tell you, we put Jeff Glatzer's magazine, Scared Stiff, online at hauntworld.com so you can read all about it and find the information on how to order it and things like this. It's only $25 for 4 issues. Let me tell you something. This is probably the most interesting and unique magazine in the whole industry because it's coming from an actor's perspective. He's got articles about how to act and what to do in certain situations. He's got all kinds of really talented writers that have been actors or makeup artists, and they're talking about how to do makeup for your actors and things like this. I highly suggest that you get Scared Stiff magazine. This isn't a shameless plug. This is reality. I mean, this guy is very, very great, and I was very surprised at how good this magazine was because there's so many people trying to do it, and most of the magazines have not been that great. And when you see a new magazine, you're like, another magazine. Well, I can tell you that Scared Stiff is close to being one of my favorites, and if not my favorite, because it's just coming from an actor's perspective. It's very interesting. Now, moving on to another haunted house. Let's say a good friend of mine, Carl Fields. We've had a lot of interesting conversations over the years. He sent me tape of his haunted house called Pirates of Emerson. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but let me give you a little background on this tape. I watched it. I was very impressed, and one of the things I want you to really notice that his theme is pirates, and as you see his haunted house, you'll notice that everything is pirates, and that is very important when you're doing a haunted house. If you're saying that your haunted house is, Alien Encounter, what is Freddy Krueger doing in there? If it's Little Miss Red Riding Hood haunts, the haunted forest, I mean, then what would an alien, for example, be doing in it? It doesn't make any sense. And I go through these haunted houses, and the theme is, some gothic tour of terror, and I see, Michael Myers running around in there, and then to make matters worse, it's a Michael Myers mask with a machete, in a tuxedo. I mean, it's just like, doesn't make any sense. Theming is very important. You have to be consistent. Very, very consistent. That's very, very important. And when Halloween Productions builds our haunted house themes, one of the things that we do in our haunted houses that we build for other people is from the minute you walk up to it and you see the facade, that facade has to emulate everything in the haunted house. Every character, every ounce of detail, and every prop has to have something to do with the theme and the facade and the whole thing of it. And that's very important, and that's something I was very impressed with by this tape. Now, I think it was shot with night zoom lens or something like that, because it's all green, which is fine. You'll get the idea. And then afterwards, he sent us like a little montage of color photos of the haunted house. So let's take a look at Carl Field's Pirates of the Emerson.
Creatures of the night, they rise as darkness descends.
Okay, moving right along. That was Carl Field's Haunted House. I thought that it was very well done, Carl. Very well done. And that was an intent. I could tell that was a mobile attraction. So the amount of detail that you had in that attraction was just marvelous. And I wish that you would have sent that footage in color, because I would have loved to see it in color. But that's okay. Maybe next time. Now, I want to move right along. And I want to talk about detailing your haunted house. And I want to talk about an issue that really bothers me. There's some people, especially, don't take this wrong way, but the people who are making these comments are the epitome of what they're saying. That, like, your Kinko copy, that you're copying other people's scenes, or you're copying other people's ideas. Well, you know, the people that are really saying are the epitome of it, because they're not doing anything themselves. They're having everybody else do it, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? When you have something that's good, you should buy it. Or other people should buy it from you, because that's what it's all about. Making your haunted house better is what's going to drive in customers. So don't be afraid to, if you see something, to try to use it. Now, one of the things that we try to do here is we try to be as original as possible. We don't want to be like our competitors. We want to be completely original, and we always try to think original. Now, when you see something that works, you should try to utilize that idea. Okay, there's no such thing as original idea anymore. This earth has been here for thousands and thousands of years. We're all copying from each other in one way or another. Tell me a movie that you've seen that was completely original, that didn't remind you of another movie. For example, Blair Witch Project was just like The Last Broadcast, or another movie called Cannibal Holocaust. I think it was called Cannibal Holocaust. It's just ideas spawn other ideas. Now, one of the best ways for you to try to utilize other ideas and things like this is go to the library. I wanted to actually shoot this segment in the library, but I didn't get the chance. Now, we went to the library today, and let's say you're doing a theme on Egyptians. What sense does it make for you to try to just create Egyptian scenes without going to the library and getting a book? Okay? And as you can see, this book has some holograms and hieroglyphics, and there's like statues, okay? And let's see what else we have in this book. Here's a really good sarcophagus right there. You can see that. Yeah, right there. Yeah. Okay. And this book has just got all kinds of invaluable information. Here, check this out. Look at all those statues right there. Now tell me, and then here, like on the back, there's all these runes, okay? One of the things that we try to do when we're going to, say, especially create a 3D haunted house, is we try to go out and find images, things that will inspire ideas, things that will give you, you know, a format to work from. For example, we do a lot of circus haunted houses. So here's a book on the circus. Now, of course, none of this stuff is going to be haunted per se, but look at this right here. You can see that picture right there of a circus poster, which is really good. You got all these, this right here. Tell me that you couldn't figure out a way to make that haunted, those crazy seals, and that'd be a great 3D image right there to try to create that. Now, of course, you're going to have to put your own original spin on everything, because these images aren't haunted. Of course they're not haunted. You got to make them haunted. That's where originality comes in. That's where creativity comes in. And just furthering the idea, I bought these books a while back called Plantation Homes, as you can see. And as you flip through this book, you'll notice all of these really old plantation houses. See that right there? Yeah, I think you do. This is really the cheap, low-budget way to do this, by the way. And I've got all these. Here's one book I have on Louisiana plantation homes. Look right here on the back. You got this really beautiful lobby to a real haunted house, or to a real house. And then I've got this classic architecture book. Okay, all these things, okay, will help you. Okay, make your haunted house better. To stick with themes, to have ideas. Now, one of the things you can do, if you really like an image in here, let's say you like something like this. You can scan it on your scanner and print it out on transparency paper. And then you can take a projector, okay, a transparency. You can put that transparency paper on that projector, blow it up on the wall on a piece of canvas and sketch it out or whatever it is you want to do. Another way, I've seen a lot of people out there make really bad signs. And I'm just like, how is that possible? You can take your computer and you have all kinds of interesting Halloween fonts and things like this. I'm sure you all collect them. And there's all kinds of font websites. Hauntworld's got tons of them linked. And you go to these sites and you find a font that you really like. In your computer, you know, and like Microsoft Works, you can spell it out right there, what it is that you want that sign to say, print it out on transparency paper, put it on a projector, back it up on the piece of canvas, and, you know, and draw it out. And then just color in the lines, you know, just like the old crayon books. And that will really help your haunted house just by going to the library, researching what it is you want to do. And of course, watching movies really helps. But if you're going to do a haunted house, you're going to do some scenes, it's really important to try to make them as believable and realistic as possible. And so that's a major suggestion for you to use next time you're planning a haunted house. Okay, moving right along. As you might know, Hamp did a videotape this past year called Hamp's Horror Hill, or something like this. It was a huge success. It was probably made on a lower budget than this, if you can believe it or not. I mean, lower budget than me having to put a camera so you can see pictures. It was made lower budget than that. I mean, he edited it with 2 VCRs. Bad VCRs, I might add, because I've seen them. It was amazing that how the information, the content, is really what made the video successful. Now, a lot of you people may have not seen those videos, and they're very good, and you can find them listed in Hauntworld's Yellow Pages section. So what we're going to do is we're just going to show you one clip from Hamp's Horror Hill tape last year, so you can kind of get the idea of what his tape was all about. And this was my favorite segment on his tape, so I hope you like it. We'll be right back.
Hi there. My name is Richard Hanf. Chances are we've met before. Some people call me the Phantom. Some people call me Dr. Dread. Lots of people call me things you can't say on TV. But one fact remains, that I need a really big bandage. No, that was stupid. I'm sorry, okay? One fact remains. This is one great haunted house. I'm standing in front of House on Horror Hill in Long Island, New York. And don't get me wrong, there are haunted houses out there that are much bigger than this one. There are people out there that have spent tens of thousands of dollars more than we've spent on this one. Tremendous advertising budgets. I know what this is. But the reason this is a great haunted house, what separates this one from the others and why it stands head and shoulders above so many of the other haunted houses out there today, is because every scare, every gross out, and every skit in this haunted house works, and it works big time. So we're going to go into the house. As always, I'll be providing you with plenty of documentary footage so you can see just how the scares are done. We'll talk a little about the philosophy of fear and how to actually scare people. Because even with the best props and the best setups, if your actors aren't trained properly and they're not adhering to a few simple rules, it's not going to help you, and your scare and your house is going to go right down the tubes. So let's go inside and check out some things. Now, has this ever happened to you? You sit around with your friends and your staff, and you design what you think, what you hope, is a great haunted house. Plenty of scares, so it looks good on paper. You get inside, you open up, and you're this far short of where you should be. The scares are there, but not really as good as they should be. Or maybe not as many as they should be. There's something just not right with it. You're just a little off. Well, we're going to be talking about that. Some basic scare techniques that maybe you're not adhering to really tweak your show, to make sure every scare is working as well as the ones in here work, so that almost every group that goes by gets hit. I'm going to teach you those things right here, right now. Let's go inside, and we'll begin immediately. Right this way, Master. Come on, All right, I'm here alone. I have to make believe that I'm telling you to come in. I'm really here alone. I have to circle around so you don't see me and bring the camera in there myself. All right, look, it's Halloween. What do you expect from me? I'll be back. Well, let me tell you, friends, these things are a thing of beauty. They're called devil eyes. I call them squishy eyes, but take a look. They're devil eyes. I think you can get them, I think I got these from Dillon Importing, but you can also get them from Oriental Trader. Now, I don't know what we ever did before squishy eyes came along. I don't know how I ever did a haunted house without them. Watch this. This is the most incredible thing you've ever seen. As you can see, I'm opening up the package live on TV. Now, you take these things out, and just look at them. Look how disgusting they are. Oh, God, I love these things. They're real sticky. See how sticky these things are? Is this great or what? Oh my God, these are wonderful. Real nice and sticky, but they don't stick to you. Everything is fine. But that's nothing. Watch this. Watch what happens. Watch the table right around here. I'll try to get it to land there. Did you see that come back together? This is fantastic. You have to admit, that is great. Now I'm going to try to throw one against the wall. Let's watch this. It's always good to start with a clean one. But I tell you, these things are so sticky that when you throw them, you have to throw them way over the area you want to hit. Like if I'm trying to hit on the table, you have to throw it way past the table. Look at that. Is that beautiful? I'm going to try to zero in on this. And of course, the beauty is, it comes back together. There you go. Good as new for another one. Yeah, that one really is a little off-center. But look at that. This is great. Ah, hit the corpse. Look. How great is that? Perfect. See, it splats out, then it comes back together. All right, when it's nice and new, and you're doing it on an area that isn't dirty, it really splatters out great, and it comes back together. And you can't beat these things. Like I said, look at that one. What we did before the invention of squishy eyes. Cool is this? Well, there's nothing like a good silhouette, is there? That is so cool. Let's see if I can't show you what this is. It's just a mannequin with a really good mask on it. Look at that guy. Is he beautiful? Now, when you're talking good masks, you're talking Death Studios. Nobody makes a mask like Death Studios. Look at that vampire. I've got a little light on the subject. Now again, this is a classic misdirection, and the 45-degree rule is in effect. I guess it's time to pretty much explain what that is. First of all, let me show you what the payoff in this room is. Okay, let me explain where we are. Here's Mrs. Dahmer's kitchen, and right over here is where the vampire is, behind the curtain. So now people are coming through here, they pass by the door, and nothing happens. They're perfectly safe, or so they think. They come up here, they're looking at the curtain. They don't know whether the guy behind the mask is real or not. They don't know whether the silhouette behind the curtain is real or not. Suddenly, what happens? Boom! The door drops, there's a big bang, and a big guy comes flying out for the scare. Again, this is the beauty of misdirection. They don't know what's going to happen here. This is totally safe, totally off limits at this point, because they went by it and nothing happened, therefore their guard is down. They're worried about over here. So what I do is get them to worry about an area where nothing's going to happen, and let them get their guard down in an area where something will happen. And that's how I get these people, time and time and time again. And when I told you how every scare in the house works, this is one of the reasons why. One of the other beauties about this is that the same guy that comes out here is the same guy that came out from behind the vampire early on. So now you're getting two scares with one person. And if you have a big payroll, you know how important that can be. All right, there's nothing really special about this area here, except that it works really well. This is just an ordinary cabinet. Ordinary closet, no big deal. You leave one door open. And here I am inside. With one door open, it gives the effect that there's nothing inside it. If it was closed, then of course people are going to be wondering, hey, what's going to come out of there? But when it's open, it looks as though the actor has left his post, thereby doing what? Getting the people to put their guard down again, and once they put their guard down, they're yours. No haunted house is complete without a mad doctor, or in this case, a mad mortician. You always have to have some kind of lab. And what we've done here is really gone to the gruesome side. I like a good gross out. I like things being bloody and slimy and disgusting. So what we've done is taken the Don Post autopsy victim. I've made some intestines, as you can see. We fill the cavity area up with just a little bit of slime. We don't need too much. And we actually pull the intestines out and chase the people around for an interesting reaction. Let's take a look at some video on how it's really done.
Nice. All right. If someone would be so kind as to assist me. All right. There's a phrase. All right, just stand like that. All you've got to do is just hold it just like that. All right. Okay. Now, I'll make the proper incision and we'll get down to business. All right? Here we go. Let's see what he's made of, shall we? All right. I suppose you know how to reconnect these, Neal. I don't remember this chapter of the book. We take one of them home? We take one of them home. All right, we're going to make it quick.
Wow, wasn't that fun? Rich Hanf is just, he's probably the most misunderstood person in the industry, but let me tell you, he is a brilliant person, and he's a very giving man, and he would do just about anything for a friend. And I highly suggest that you get to know Rich, you buy his tape. I think that you'll just love it. It's full of some really scary ideas, and that's all the tape's about. It's just scares. Moving right along, I recently did a seminar at the Trans World Show, or haven't done it yet, but by the time you see this tape I would have. It was called Surviving 2000. A lot of haunted houses took a big hit this past year, and I have a lot of theories on that. One, of course, was the fact that New Year's kind of took front stage, the Y2K thing, and I wrote an article about that in Fright Times. A great magazine. Okay, I wrote an article about that in Fright Times, and I think that a lot of it had to do with the fact that New Year's Eve, it's just like I never seen before in October where people were talking about where they're going to be for New Year's Eve. Where's Barbra Streisand going to be singing, and you know, blah 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 blah, and where's Michael Jackson going to be? And he was actually was able to do 2 New Year's Eve parties in the same day, for example, because the time zones, and he was, it was all like, golly, what are you talking about this for in October? And I think that had a big part of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that amusement parks are getting bigger in Halloween, and there's more competition, and there's access to information is at an all-time high with the internet and things like this. So I think that everybody's getting better at what they're doing. And one of the big things is that people are charging a lot of money now. And I think it's really hard for us, for our industry, to meet the expectations of the customer when our ticket price is $10 to $15. It's really hard. I mean, you could show them you could open up a crack in the earth and let them get a first-hand view of what hell's like, and it still wouldn't be good enough for $15. That's what it seems like. And so you just can't keep throwing like a lot of money at this. You have to really get back to the basics if you really want to pick your attendance up. And I've written down 10 things that I thought would really, really help you increase your business and help you survive the year 2000. And number one is, I think that you should take this more serious. You need to look at it as a full-time job. And when you see an opportunity to promote your haunted house, you should take it, such as there's all kinds of fairs in the summer, state fairs and things like this, and you could print up just something simple, a little orange piece of paper with all your information on it. Could be a buy one, get one free coupon. You have to look at it as these are customers that you may never get. So what do you have to lose if you have a buy one, get one free pass, and you have a TV set and you're showing people stuff about your haunted house? So look into fairs and different community activities and carnivals and things like this that you can maybe set up a little booth for a couple $100 and promote your attraction. Another thing is that I think that if you make a full color brochure like we do, here was ours last year, and and you can drop these in like hotel. They have those little lobby card things where all the things to do in a city and stuff. And I think that for what they charge, it's worth the money. I think we paid like $300. We got in all the hotels in St. Louis. And I thought that was something maybe you should look into. Another thing is I think that it's really important that people do full color brochures, even if it's just a front page and a back page. Ours was a 4-fold, as you can see. And one of the things we did is I actually got this idea off of David Berlino, but I think that we improved it somewhat. But he did a group rate thing, and I seen that on his brochure, and I thought that was just the most clever idea that I'd ever seen. So it actually tears off, okay, like this. I had ours perf. One of the things that I did different than what Dave did was he had his actual physical coupon like on the very back page. And I didn't like that idea because if you wanted you just totally had to savage the brochure. Like, say, if you wanted the coupon, it was on. So what I did was I made the coupon on one side and the group sales thing on the other. I figure, well, if they're not going to use a group sales, they're using a coupon. If they're not using a coupon, they're using group sales. So I thought that was a better way to do it. And that was just a clever idea on Bertolino's part. He's just a master of marketing. Moving right along. And by the way, on full color brochures, they really don't cost that much more, and you really should look into it. I think a lot of people are scared off by color, but if you're going to spend all this money on a Brainstorm Studios image, you really should try to look into full color. Next thing is stunts. What am I talking about? What am I, crazy? Stunts. Yeah, I want you to bungee jump off the top of your building without the cord. That will get you a lot of publicity. No, wait a minute. I'm crazy. Slap me. No, for real. Publicity stunts. Try to do things that are outrageous to get publicity. Remember, no publicity is bad publicity unless it's something very seriously bad, okay? Something like really silly, that gets the ear of some public official or whatever. It's not necessarily a bad thing if you get a lot of publicity out of it. It's all in fun. It could be anything from shooting pumpkins out of cannons to dropping a huge pumpkin off the top of a building to having a little stunt where, an ambulance pulls up like in Arnold Chase's haunted house that he did a few years ago. I think that you ought to look at ways to try to get the media's attention, because publicity is what really sells your attraction. Number 5, ticket giveaways. A lot of people are stingy with their tickets. I don't understand this. This is crazy. You put a lot of free tickets out there, and they always bring more people. and that gets more people wanting to come and talk about it. It just gets the word on the street a lot heavier. Don't be so stingy with your free tickets. Another thing is unlimited entry, which is something that we tried this year. Like, charge a couple dollars more or whatever, and then advertise that you get to go through as many times as you want that particular night. And what we did is we took our tickets, and on every ticket we wrote down the date, like 25, 26, 27, so that ticket stub had a number on it, and that represented that particular night, so you couldn't use it another night. Try it. What do you have to lose? I mean, let people go through more times. It's something that every amusement park does, so what the heck. Another thing is smaller haunts, more attractions. And what I mean by that is, instead of having one big 30,000 square foot haunted house, have you ever thought about maybe breaking it up just a little bit and putting a little facade in front of a different theme? Like, a lot of haunted houses don't have a 30,000 square foot running theme. Like at the Darkness, we don't. We have like 5 different themes, and you go from one area to the next. You ever thought about maybe putting a facade up in front of your haunted house section and like some Gothic gates in front of your castle section, and then just you're giving people more perceived value. You're telling them that, oh, there's 5 attractions, when really there's only one. What would you go to? 5 attractions in a 30,000 square foot building, 5 haunted houses, that really is no more bang for the buck because the square foot's the same, or one haunted house. Just something for you to think about. Do personal appearances. Like, go to the radio station, go to the mall. A lot of people bought the Ex Mortis costumes. Get out there. Do personal appearances. Get out there with trick-or-treat candy and your coupons and a free ticket here and a free ticket there. Make it an event. Go to events and be seen. The more you're seen, the more business you will get. And make it fun for people, because that's what it's really all about, really, isn't it? Having fun, not scaring the bejesus out of people. I was quoted in Fangoria magazine that I said which I thought it was misrepresented in the fact that it said something to the fact that I think you don't really want to scare anyone. You just want to make them have fun. What I meant by that was, if people come out completely terrified, like they won't come back because they're too scared. That's not a good thing. You want people coming out scared but laughing, and that's what I meant. You want people to have fun, because that's what it's all about. It's not about chasing people around with chainsaws and throwing blood at them. Okay? It's about them having fun. And if you can remember the key word, fun, if people have fun, they come back. Just remember that. Another thing is celebrity appearances. That really works, and a lot of people are turned off by it because of Elvira might want $10,000 or something like this. Let me tell you that there's a lot of people that have been in little obscure movies, and that's a good thing. Have them out there. You don't have anything to lose. You're already spending money on the radio, and you can get your radio station to interview them, and then if you get anything above and beyond that, it's a bonus. And it can work. And try the small celebrities that charge $500 for a weekend. See how it works and move up the ladder. And number 10, and the most important thing, is to be different. Don't be like everybody else. If somebody else has got all these Freddy scenes and all this, don't do it. Try to be different. Be original. And that's the most important thing. And that's getting back to that Kinko comment. Nobody's Kinko in this business, and try not to be. We just hate the term. We don't want to be anything like anyone else. We want to be 100% original. And of course, we've seen things that we liked, and we try to utilize them. For example, the Vortex Tunnel. Jim and I, we seen that way back at Universal Studios like 7 or 8 years ago, and I remember us trying to figure out how to build one. And I remember us thinking that we were going to weld all this steel together and have this steel tunnel, and that was crazy. We couldn't figure out how to make it work. And but I remember wanting to build one of those 7 years ago. We seen it at Ripley's, believe it or not. We thought that was the neatest thing we'd ever seen. And lo and behold, 4 years later, 5 years later, there's a tunnel. It's not bad. It's a good thing. Be different. Take pictures of as many things as you can. Inspire ideas, and just try to be original as you can. And I think that will help you with word of mouth if you're not like everybody else. Now, let's get on to another haunted house, because I know that's what you like to see the most. This haunted house is called the Asylum Experience, and it's run by a man named Dave Link. It's no longer in business. He sold the haunted house because he lost location. He sent me the video, and I was blown away. This haunted house is so original, so neat. Dave Link makes toys. He carves toys for the toy industry. And after you see the haunted house, which is going to be like a clip of the haunted house, I'm going to show you a clip of how their team comes up with the ideas on how to make their haunted houses, their little gags and stuff. You're really going to like this piece. So let's take a look.
Experience is held in it's a 100-year-old building. It looked like a nut house to me. So the basic premise behind it is you're not walking through the hallways of an asylum looking into cells. You are walking through the nightmares of lunatics. You are walking through the phobias and fears of the person next to you or yourself. That's what you're living. That's what it's all about.
When we got together, he asked me, he said, hey, I'm working on this project. Do you think we could bring a semi-truck through a wall, have it barreling through a wall and break a wall away? And I sat there and I thought about it for a minute and said, sure, we can do that, because in some ways it's a giant toy. And so we got together, we worked on some different very preliminary prototypes of how the truck could bust through the wall. We went from there to a more detailed model. What we did was worked out the linkages.
The most complex one was probably the truck circuit downstairs, which was, I was intermixing AC and DC voltages, and we were coming close to the opening of the haunted house, and that was one of the last things that got built and wired, and you know, I kept my fingers crossed that everything was going to work, and so far, knock on wood, that one's been the least problematic.
We walk them through a hallway, and then we bring them in here in this nice, pristine place. It doesn't look like anything that they've seen so far in a haunted house. And actually, hopefully, we give them the illusion of,
well, it's slowing down, the pace is slowing down, and then bam!
You can't get people right in their face. You can't have them stumbling over bricks or railroad ties.
A lot of things we had to take in consideration. One was that we're going to be pushing a 8-foot wall, basically, with people standing in front of it in order to get the effect. We had to be very careful about the logistics of where people were going to be standing so that we didn't hurt anybody with an action like that. The fact that this is, boy, probably 75 pounds that we're rolling on a trolley. We had to worry about steel, making sure that our pivot pins weren't going to break, and boy, there was a lot of things that we had to take in consideration of putting together something like this.
First, we start with a miniature set. We lay out the floor plan and scale it, and then we build miniature models of the actual props, and then we start forming them, and we break them apart so that they are easy to be moved around and stored. Like this prop right here, started like this one. Finished product is here. It's lightweight, and it all comes apart. It's all pieces, and reassembled again. We can start and move it anywhere we want.
This was for a scene called The Bug, and this mechanism Dave originally designed as a prototype, and it was going to come through a character's stomach and have a head on it and raise up and down and do all these crazy movements.
The whole project is designed. It is not, you don't sit down with something like this and come up with a drawing and say, okay, let's build this, and you give this to a welder or you give it to a carpenter and say, make this. It's not a job for an electrician or an electronics buff. It's a job for a guy who can see the dream and live the dream with me and have the creative skills to problem solve as well. I want guys who are dreaming, who are designers, to work on this along with me. I don't want people that I employ. I want people that I work with. I want to establish a crew or a family of guys or girls that will creatively work together and problem solve all the way through.
It's fun. It's Hollywood outside of Hollywood. You know, you don't find a lot of things like this in the Midwest. And on top of that, to find such a special group of creative people who are so willing to give to one another. And I know Dave in particular. I haven't worked with anyone like Dave. And just a very creative guy who let you do what you do best.
We bring them into an environment and say, you're really here. We want you to know that you're really in this environment. So we surround them with the environment, and we surround them with the sound, we surround them with the lighting, and then we give them a piece of theater to remember and walk away with. How we got from the front of my dad's house to a haunted house took 15 years of blood, sweat, and tears, but we're here and we're ready to entertain and thrill and amaze and scare people to death.
Welcome back, everyone. I have something you're going to enjoy, I think. In this box is my very own crawling hand. Let me get it out. Ah, so lifelike. Okay, let's do some tricks. All right, wave. Oh, very interesting. Snap your fingers. You know, this is cool. Okay, imitate an octopus. Oh, this hand is very talented. How fun and twisted. Okay, let's go to a commercial break and then see more of the movie. Roll the tape.
Hey, get that thing away from me. It's dripping.
Honey, have you seen my jacket?
Sure, honey. It's right here.
Hey, what's that?
That's Max the Dead Guy.
Max the Dead Guy?
Yes, it's Max the Dead Guy with 1,000 household uses. There's Potholder Max the Dead Guy, Message Board Max the Dead Guy, Odor Absorber Max the Dead Guy, Mousetrap Max the Dead Guy, and, with a little hot oil, Popcorn Max the Dead Guy.
And my favorite, Ironing Board Max the Dead Guy.
Wow, he really has 1,000 uses. I'm glad we got our Max the Dead Guy.
Get your Max the Dead Guy today. Max the Dead Guy from Rotco.
Okay, as you can see, the Asylum Experience was an awesome haunted house. And let me make a comment about the Asylum Experience, because this haunted house was just amazing. Okay, I mean, it blew me away. And the thing about it is that this haunted house is not going to be around next year. And I've been the biggest advocate in this business of touring other people's attractions. And a lot of people have not taken up on the idea because they say, well, I don't have time to get away, you know, blah, 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 blah. If you can't get away on a Wednesday night, if you can't trust, you know, your spouse or your maybe an adult child or you know, a relative, a brother, a sister, or somebody that's been helping you for years build your haunted house. I mean, when are you ever going to be able to get away? You're never going to be able to if you can't trust somebody. My suggestion is to trust people on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night and hope for the best that the place isn't going to come crumbling down, and get out and see places like Asylum Experience and these kind of attractions, because what you will learn is unbelievable. And so let's just move right along. A lot of you have heard of Jim O'Rear from Underground Entertainment. I know some of you out there have heard the man's name. He spoke this year at the Halloween show. He was gracious enough to give us some tips on some scares and things like this, so we're going to take a look at it. It's Jim O'Rear and tips on some whatever it is Jim O'Rear wants to talk about. Let's take a look. Remember, this is low budget. We have no script. Let's take a look.
Hello, Fright fans, and welcome to another edition of Hauntworld the Movie, part 12,504, or something like that. Anyway, I am Jim O'Rear, editor of that industry magazine that tells it the way it is, Underground Entertainment. Yes, just happen to have a copy right here. Little free plug. I have no shame. A lot of our readers have mentioned that they like our articles concerning details in our room designs and things like that to help you make them more scary. So Larry asked us if we would edit together a little video footage to go over some of these tips and help you out a little bit. So, we did! What the heck? So let me get changed out of these clothes and we'll get started, okay? Come on! No, come on! No, really, I could use some help here. Fine. Welcome to Underground Entertainment Headquarters. I'm just here with a couple of the other stiffs hanging around. And I want to tell you a little bit more about the room design. Now, when you're first starting to design a new room, you of course need to keep in mind the psychology of the customer. You want to really hit the customer at their most primitive level. And what I mean by that is you need to affect a wide spectrum of fear. You may feel very strongly about Navalent and that scares you, but more than likely it's not going to affect the majority of the public. So hit the public at primitive levels. And there's really 3 levels of horror you can hit at. And the first would, of course, be terror. And terror is where you don't actually see anything happening, but your mind does. And if any of you have been to Disney's Alien Encounter in Orlando, you know what I'm talking about. They let the lights go down, the sound and special effects lighting pretty much take care of the rest of the story for them. So that's what that is. The next level would be a horror level. And that's where it's not completely of the mind. You actually invite a physical reaction by hinting to the customer that something may be a little bit wrong. You just show a little bit. And then the third level that you can always revert to if nothing else works is revulsion. And we all need a little gross out room now and then, right? Believe it or not, blood does add extra value to your haunted attraction. After you've decided what type of room you're going to have, if you want to instill horror or terror or revulsion, whatever, there are certain little things that you can use, little characteristics in people that you can use to make your rooms even scarier. One thing that you definitely want to use is anticipation. Now, anticipation is not just something that Frankenfurter says in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, sir. I know that many of you were thinking that. But anticipation is actually It's that very moment when the customer is not exactly sure what's going to happen, but the sound effects and the lighting and everything have made them kind of apprehensive and a little hesitant. Now, this can help or hinder the flow of traffic through your attraction. If there's too much hesitation, of course, people are not going to want to go on. Then again, their anticipation could just be so high that they're gone. You know, they just take off out of there. Now, I designed a room several years ago that I've used over and over again that has always been very effective, and I call it the ballroom. And basically, it's a play on the little children's bouncy ballrooms that you find at like Chuck E. Cheese and McDonald's Playland and stuff like that, with all the little plastic balls in it. And what I'll do is I'll show you this diagram. Now, on this diagram, remember, I am not an artist. I repeat, I am not an artist. What you see here is basically just a plain square room that really deals on all with anticipation. You're going to ramp the customers up, as you can see, to where they enter. And you're going to ramp them up because you want to build a little lower floor in there so that you can empty all the plastic balls into it. So you'll ramp the customers up and head them into the ballroom. Now, what they do is they're standing at the edge of the room here, and they know by looking down in there, they're going to have to step off of this edge and into the ball pit. Now, you have scattered throughout there either some dummies or some monster masks, as you can see here. And actually, one of those is a real person buried underneath the balls. Now, the customer knows. They know that one of these is going to be a real person, but they don't know which, thus building the anticipation level. They know something's going to happen, but they don't know exactly when. It's also playing on the fear that they do not know what is underneath their feet when they step off into the room. They know they're going to have to step off into the balls, and anything could be under there. Now, what you want to have is some of course, non-flammable foam padding, mattresses, whatever your city codes will allow, to put under there for them to step on to throw them off a little bit more. You know, make them a cushy floor as they walk through the balls. And what will happen is they will get there and they won't want to step off. So you're going to have a scare from behind to get them to go through. And once they get about to the middle of the ballroom, you're going to want one of those figures to come alive, thus scaring them out the other side and down the other ramp. That's playing on anticipation, and it works every time, because the customer just does not know what to do. They want to go on, but they don't want to go on. And that's something that you really want to play on in designing your rooms. It really churns up that fear factor for them. Another thing you want to do with your sets is to make them interactive. Get the customer involved. The best way to do this really is to build your sets around the customer. Instead of guiding them through your attraction with railing and letting them walk by and look at the pretty scenes, let them actually walk through your sets and become part of the set so that they feel it's building on that emotion. They feel that they are there, it's real, it's something they can do. And then if you can, add in little things for the customers to do while they're in there. So some great things. The guys at Frightland last season, they set up a kitchen and told everyone before they went in, do not open the refrigerator. And it says right on the refrigerator, do not open the refrigerator. Of course, everyone opens the refrigerator, boom, gets them with a scare. Same thing happens you'll see in other rooms you may visit. They'll have little things for you to do. They'll have bells for you to ring, things for you to pull, doors for you to open. Get the customer involved. It makes them part of the show and really makes them feel like this is a believable situation they've stepped into, thus making it seem like that they are even more in danger. Another thing you want to do is work on controlling the customer's senses. There is so much you can do to affect a customer when you're really attacking their sight, their smell, the sound, the touch. Really use their senses against them. With sight, I mean, you can take advantage of that small amount of time that it takes the iris to adjust between bright and low lights, between colors. Use that time of adjustment. That time of adjustment is is the best time to hit them. I mean, that's when the scare can happen, right in that adjustment. You'll get them every time. With sound, it's not so much volume or shock sound that can get them. Think about using instead frequencies in the sound, the different frequencies between the basses and the trebles. You can think of seeing a live band like in a bar or something, and you know you can hear that bass, that that thump thump thump, but you don't so much hear the bass as you feel it. You can feel the vibration. It's just that boom 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 from the bass, and it's a frequency. It's a frequency that you're feeling that's causing those vibrations. And if you have the right frequency in some bass subwoofers in a room of your attraction, that can unnerve a customer so much that they will go nuts, and nothing has even actually happened. It's just a frequency of sound. Of course, you can offset that with little highlights in the sound from the tweeters, the high-end speakers, and getting the treble set to do your special high-end sounds that way. Of course, smell. Smell can be used a lot. Now, for instance, a closet scene. Let's say you're in a haunted house and you want to walk them through a closet. Now, there's nothing particularly frightening about a closet, but if you put some mothballs in the closet and affect their smell, the mothballs actually act as a distraction. They enter the closet, they immediately notice the mothballs. Their mind is now off. Something may be in here. What's that smell? Boom, you got them again. Use touch. You're going to be walking them through the sets, building the sets around them. Let them touch things. Use different textures. Use the grains of wood. Use the cold, smooth plaster surfaces. Even like burlap to get that coarse, grainy feel. I mean, different textures really can get them involved. So just attack those senses. And when you attack those senses and get their senses distracted at the same time, you got them with a scare every time. One last thing that me and my friend here would like to mention is misdirection. And I mentioned that a few moments ago by using smell as a distraction and misdirection. As much as you can, use misdirection and distractions. And a distraction can be little things, even a shift in the shadow, a light being turned off. The customer is already looking for things because they're on edge. The smallest of distractions to get their attention somewhere else for just a moment is all you need to have the other guy come in and get them. Great example. I've seen so many, but one of my favorites, and I don't quite know what this says about me, but at the Darkness in St. Louis, Larry had a New York scene set up with like a little go-go dancer scene, and the little go-go dancer was dancing up here, and of course I watched the go-go dancer. He distracted me by putting the go-go dancer up high. Boom, the scare comes out and gets me from beneath. Great piece of misdirection, and something simple. That's kind of a large scale, but something simple, even a little sound, a doorknob rattle, anything like that gets the customer's attention. Boom, other guy gets him the other way. Misdirection and distraction, very important. Well, that pretty much does it for my section of Hauntworld the Movie, part 50,072. For now, if you want to read more about distractions, get tips on setting up rooms, things happening in the industry, remember my magazine, Underground Entertainment. Yes, that's right, Underground Entertainment. Yes. You can subscribe to this, $25 a year. You get a ton of pages of stuff. It is. Just write to me at Underground Entertainment, Post Office Box 1113, Mount Juliet. That's the city Mount Juliet, not what Romeo wanted to do. Tennessee, 37121-1113. Yes, that's Post Office Box 1113, Mount Juliet, Tennessee, 37121-1113. And we'll get you some copies right out. Of course, with this room designing little segment that I've just done, there are going to be customers that you cannot scare. And the ones that you can't scare, you pretty much have to entertain. And I'll work on a segment for the next edition of Hauntworld the Movie, part 70 billion 53 and a half, whatever. And that will be more on entertaining the customer with room designs. So until then, we'll see you in the pages of Underground.
Okay, moving right along. Dr. Lady was a huge hit on the last series of videotapes, and he made a new segment for us. We're going to take a look at that, and we had these surveys, and we polled people to see what they liked the best, and Dr. Lady was hands-on favorite. And this is Dr. Lady and his segment on whatever it is that the wacky world of Dr. Lady wants to show you. So let's take a look at Dr. Lady.
We take you now to Horror Hotel, where we understand that Dr. Lady is very excited and eager to speak to the viewing audience.
Oh. Yeah, so anyway, I was just speaking with Count Dracula about his latest movie. It seems like this one is going to be another one of those updated versions. Yeah, and this one he drives a van around. Yeah, that's right. Well, as I understand it, in the first written plot synopsis, somebody made a typo where they spelled the word as vampire. And, well, from there on out, the whole script just sort of got out of control. Yeah. So, Dracula holds a seance in the new one and tries to contact the spirit of Vincent van Gogh to help make his van go. Yeah. Well, and then when that fails, I guess he writes to a woman who has a column in the newspaper where she answers questions and gives advice about automobile maintenance. Yeah, it's called Dear Carfax Abbey. That's right. And, well, she finds out he needs help with his van, so she sends for Dr. Van Helping. Right. And, of course, in this one, you know, the new Dracula has gotten over his addiction to blood drinking, and instead he's a cocaine addict now. Yeah, that's why it's called Vlad the Inhaler. Yeah. And, oh my God. Listen, I gotta go. I'm on videotape. It's one of those haunt things. Yeah. I just gotta do an intro. I'll just be a minute. Hang on. Well, good evening and welcome to Horror Hotel, the hotel where we guarantee that all our ceilings extend all the way out to where they meet up with the upper edges of the walls. Anyway, thanks for tuning in tonight, and coming up next, we're going to bring you a segment on haunted house detailing, which we believe will be hilarious, yet informative and enlightening and useful. What the heck, you know, on second thought, let's just go with the kind we usually provide, shall we? Tonight, we're going to cover a subject that will be of great interest to all of you haunters out there. A little something you can use to decorate and design and detail a room that could become one of the most popular scenes in your haunted attraction. That's right, I'm talking about the Make Your Own Sunday Bar. I think that should have been a good enough intro. Yeah. Sorry to keep you waiting. Oh, you heard me. You heard me, yeah? I said what? I said what? No, I didn't say make your own Sunday bar. I said laboratory. Of course. No, I wouldn't have said anything as stupid as that. Why would I say make your own Sunday bar? No. Laboratory. Well, look, anyway, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, when the scene cuts and the next shot is in the laboratory, the viewers are going to know what I meant. Gotta go. Well, okay, here we are in the laboratory. Designing your own laboratory set for your haunted attraction is not as difficult as it may seem. It does help if you have the guts to do your own wiring, but it doesn't really take a lot of brains to put all this stuff together. The most important thing is to have an artistic eye. Now, I like to keep my guts in formaldehyde because you never know when you'll need them. As for brains, well, if you just have one reasonably sized functional one, that should suffice. And as for having the artist's eye, it's either that one or it might be that one, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it's one of those. Anyway, let's have a look around the laboratory now, shall we?
Here's the lab stuff you wanted. This is heavy. How come Wolfie isn't helping you with this? Where is that slacker anyway?
Oh, well, I told him he could work on the CD tonight for our new soundtrack.
Oh.
You know, we got to get 1,000 of those out. I'm sure it won't take him long to finish it up.
You know, we could use some help with this. Couldn't we summon some zombies or something?
Excellent idea. I'll conjure some up with a little help from a spell from my old copy of the ancient Book of the Dead.
You know, when you return this to the library, your late fee is going to be a killer.
Let me see. Zebras, zithers, zombies. Caveat emptor. Ipsos facto. Hus tushtelagoo. Nothing. Maybe I said the wrong words. Let me try another one. Onomatopoeia. De mortuis nil nisi bonum. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
Allow me. Free beer! Well, since we're all here, how about helping us spruce up the lab a little?
Now, before you set up your lab, decide on what kind of a scene it's going to be. If it's mostly a drug and chemical lab, like the kind you'd associate with Dr. Jekyll or the Invisible Man or a pro athlete, well, then you want to fill it with mostly bottles, beakers, flasks, test tubes, graduated cylinders, or at least cylinders that made it past junior high, and things like that. Just fill them all up with water with a few drops of food coloring, and there you have it, instant chemicals. You might want to hide an aquarium pump in the display with a tube running into a bottle of colored water here and there to make bubbles in it. Ask any of your local schools and colleges for any old lab equipment that they might be willing to part with. Hey, I saw that. Now, if you'd rather have your room look more like a Frankenstein kind of lab, then use lots of blinking Christmas lights and any kind of unusual-looking electrical apparatus you can dig up. You can make big, odd-shaped boxes out of paneling or plywood and cut various shapes of holes in them to let the light shine out to make some weird-looking lab equipment. Strobe lights, chase lights, a lot of those novelty lamps you can buy at the gift shops at the mall will look great in a horror lab. This is where it's important to have plenty of what we professional haunters refer to as fiddly bits. You know, all the little junk parts and things you save up all year long to decorate with. Save all your old buttons, bottle caps, any little plastic parts or packaging scraps you come across throughout the year. Spray paint them with black or silver paint or whatever color you like, and just glue them all over your homemade lab machines with super glue. You can even go back and paint in some rust spots, oil stains, dirty smudges, chipped paint areas, etc., to make the machinery look a little more aged and used. Because if you have a lab set with only just bare walls and one Jacob's ladder sitting in the middle of the room, people aren't going to be nearly as impressed as they will if you take the time to detail the whole room out with lots of fiddly bits. And hey, always save the caps from your bottles that your prescription tranquilizers come in for this purpose. They make great fiddly bits. If you run a haunted house, then I'm sure you're familiar with those, right? Why, if you require half as much sedation as I do, then I'm guessing that within 3 or 4 seasons you could pretty well cover an entire wall with these babies. And do get an early start when working on your lab scene because, believe me, it takes some time to detail an entire room out with fiddly bits. It could take hours, it could take days, weeks, much like this segment. For our lab, we went with the look of kind of an old movie lab, like the Mad Scientist pictures from back in the 1940s and 50s, But you might want to go with any different kind of look for your lab. You might want to do it like more of a space alien experimental chamber kind of lab where everything looks sleek and weird and futuristic. You might want to go with the look of more of a hospital operating room with some weird mad doctor doing experiments in there. You might want to do it like a genetics lab. And of course, if you go with a genetics lab, you can decorate that with DNA. And by that I mean damn near anything, because who the heck knows, for the most part, what it really looks like inside a real genetics lab, right? Have some mutated monsters in there. Now, we had this lab looking like sort of a plain white, sterile doctor's office gone wrong for a few seasons. And then that started to get a little old, so we decided to decorate it up a little bit fancier, spruce it up, add a little detail by adding some of these plastic square grid ceiling panels. Now you can get these panels at any of your big home improvement type hardware stores, and they come in a variety of different sizes and shapes and designs. These can be spray painted any color you like. Spray them silver or black or green or whatever looks good in your lab, and you can cut them with a regular saw. And when you put them on the ceiling, see, that's where you're used to seeing them, but when you put them on the walls, they really look weird and different and high-tech. So it's a good, easy effect that I recommend. Now, well, to see what else we did, keep watching and we'll show you what we did to our ceilings.
To give the effect of a really tall room, we covered the ceiling of our lab with mirrors. Our audience loved it last year, and actually it was no harder to do than it is to explain to children why you're dressed as a vampire and yet you have a reflection. We thought the safest way would be to actually have a contractor come in and mount them just as you would a drop ceiling. Of course, we decided that after the Scotch tape method and the staple gun method both failed. And if you're starting with a room that already has a drop ceiling, you're way ahead, because all you have to do is measure your ceiling panels and have mirror glass cut to fit. And then to finish it off, we painted the struts silver to hide the joints. Although they're not in place right now, during our Halloween season, we also laid mirrors all over the floor too, which gave the whole room a dizzying, confusing, bottomless pit effect. With all the lab equipment blinking and flashing and spinning, it was a very disorienting effect that got a lot of reactions from our visiting humans. Of course, you have to be very careful when you work with mirrors, so that nothing like that happens. This is not a place where you can cut corners, so go ahead and spend the money to make sure all the mirrors are securely mounted. Otherwise, they could pose a safety hazard. And here's a tip. Be on the lookout for clothing or department stores that are going out of business. They often have lots of dressing room mirrors that they'll sell you cheap. Keep in mind that even if you're making phony lab equipment, you're still working with real electricity. By the time you get enough lights and gadgets wired up, you can end up pulling a lot of power. Of course, the good side to all that is that if you keep on hooking various kinds of electrical devices long enough, sooner or later you're bound to actually invent something. You just need to be sure you're not overloading any circuits by running too many lights and lab machines off the same circuit. If there's one thing you don't want, besides termites in your pants, it's to have your power to your lab scene suddenly shut off because you blew a fuse or a circuit breaker. At Horror Hotel one year, we had so much stuff hooked up in the lab that we had to keep a special employee on duty just to keep an eye on our breaker box.
Well, kids, I think that wraps up everything we had to say about decorating your lab for Halloween. I hope you've enjoyed the taste, and I hope Oh, the CD. Got the first one ready. Excellent. Good work. Glad to see that. Well, might as well get back to work and get started on the other 999. Off you go. Wow. What? Good evening. We're here at Horror Hotel once again, where our motto is first you can creep in and then you can sleep in. I'm your host, Dr. Lady. Thanks for tuning in to whatever this is. And our next guest tonight is none other than the creator and designer and builder and owner, operator, manager, head honcho, grand poobah, and pencil shaver for the amazing Muckle Bones Monster Museum in Ohio. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Dr. Lady.
And thank you for not smoking. So tell us a little bit about yourself, just to start out here. Were you born?
Yes, I was born.
That's something we have in common then.
Yes. Born in actually Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and then moved to Ohio here when I was very young, and I've been living here ever since.
So a couple of hundred years now.
At least,
in Ohio,
yes.
basically.
Mhm.
And how many years have you been... Get off! Get out! Hey! Get out of there! Werewolves. Sorry about that.
That's it.
Shedding season, he gets that way sometimes. Coughed up a hairball this morning. You know. I was about to say, how many years have you been having the Muckle Bones Museum now?
We've been doing Muckle Bones for 4 years now, and each year we have a different location,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a nomadic event. We switch places every year, and not by choice, but by necessity.
So you're looking to find a permanent location? Is that what you'd ultimately like to do, is set up a standing display that doesn't move around, and just set it up and you're done?
Exactly. Eventually, in the grand scheme of things, I'd like to have a permanent location where we can set up permanent sets and permanent figures. As it sits now, we have to do a quick setup and quick tear down of everything.
Wow, and that's a lot of work. So out of the 4 seasons, not the old group, the 4 seasons you've had the Muckle Bones, I guess this most recent one was your most financially successful?
Yes, by all means. We had Marion. It was in Marion, Ohio, so Marion's not a really big town, and we probably had the best location we could find. It was in a shopping mall right across from the only movie theater in town. So we had a lot of people going out for entertainment purposes, and so they would go to the movie theater and then they would stop by the museum afterwards because there was a lot of horror movies out during October, so we had a lot of traffic.
And speaking of horror movies, what's your favorite scary movie, Sydney? Rob, just a few favorite,
I tend to like the classic movies, the Frankensteins and Bride of Frankenstein. I like a horror movie that's got a really great character in it. Not really drawn to the blood and gore ones. It has to have a great character that I can kind of learn to love,
relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And did you grow up as a big monster fan? Have you always been into this stuff, Halloween and masks, monsters, creepy things, horror movies?
Oh yeah, definitely. It all started back at my parents' house when I would set up the garage, and then it went from the garage into the whole yard, and then from there I started doing haunted houses, and we did haunted houses for a few years, and then we went on to the museum.
Right, much like my own unfortunate history of my own misspent youth. And tell our great unwashed massive viewers out there, what made you decide to go with a wax museum type of show rather than the usual, where teenagers in masks pop out and scare the bejesus Franco out of people? Why did you go with a wax museum format where nothing moves?
Well, for years we did. I think I spent about 4 years doing the haunted houses, and it was a lot of fun, and but over the years, dealing with the volunteers and having to, rely on everyone coming in at night and, who's not coming in, I decided kind of to make my own monsters and try to run it on a show that's, less depends on the number of people that we have, but more on the characters, that we have in the museum. So I wouldn't have to have a lot of volunteers, just minimal amount of people running it.
And do you think gorillas are actually existing as part of nature, or do you think they were man-made? Because they're not mentioned in the Bible. It would seem to indicate to me that they may have come along later as a man-made species of ape.
What does that have to do with this interview?
Well, nothing really. I was just thinking about... What the bloody... Get out of here! Beat it, go on! Beat it before I have Laura beat it for you. Sorry about that. I don't think we'll have any more interruptions because we're finished with the interview. And now we're going to move on directly to show you some footage taken at last year's Muckle Bones Monster Museum. Here we go.
I don't know. I go over it again and again. But this is one topic that I just don't think I'll ever understand. However, I'm here today to talk to you about a topic I do understand. For I am macabre, gravely macabre, and I'd like to welcome you to the Castle Blood portion of Hauntworld, number 17, 16, 22, whatever it is by now. Oh, I better not be tripping over any little scrolling words at the bottom of the screen either. Now, what I'd like to talk to you about is the image of your actors. In the past, we've covered costumes a little bit. Today, I want to cover their facial features. For you see, your actors, you're going to want them to look pale. You're going to want them to look gaunt. You're going to want them to look as if they've been dead for years. And not everybody comes readily equipped to look like Dr. Lady. So unfortunately, you're going to have to use makeup. Now, most haunted attractions realize that makeup for characters that are up close in the public is a little bit better than just masks on anyone. And the most valuable actors you'll have are the ones that'll take the time to learn how to do their own makeup. So with that in mind, we'd like to give you a short little segment of a very basic face that almost any haunted attraction can use. We hope you enjoy it. Hi, I'm Gravely Macabre from Castle Blood. You may not recognize me because right now I'm dressed as Ricky. For you see, this is how I appeared in my corruptible, mortal state, as Mr. Ravenscroft would say. And this is Chris Black, one of the actors here at Castle Blood, and we're going to get right started on the makeup we're going to do for you today. Now, as you heard earlier, we're going to be doing a Grim Reaper face or a skull face, but the version that we do a little more detailed, a little more interesting, just to stay away from the big round eyes and black scarecrow nose that you see at so many first-time and beginner haunts. You want to first take your white base and put a nice, even, blended base coat over the whole entire face. Chris is wearing a turtleneck. You know, it is a little cold at Halloween, so if you have turtlenecks that match the makeup or match the costume, you won't have to do makeup all the way down the neck. If you don't have turtlenecks, or you're an indoor haunt, or you're in a warmer climate, remember that you will want to put makeup anywhere that there is skin showing so as not to break the illusion. And please, I hope you'll excuse my back to the camera. Certainly bad stage direction there, but I think Chris is a little more interesting than I am at this point for this part of the video. And if you're noticing the poor little emblem on my back here, well, remember, the deeper you get involved into the haunted house industry side of things, well, you'll get one of these for yourself. Now, we've got him base, but as you can see, it's very streaky. What you want to do is wipe off any excess makeup from your own hands and then pat down the makeup. When you're putting it on, just get a nice even coat, but it will be streaky, okay? There will be too much makeup and too little makeup in different areas of the face. Along the jawline and right in here are very logical places where you start and stop putting it on, so there may be too much makeup. Wipe off your hands and simply pat it down to blend that out so that it's nice and even. Now we'll use our black. You can use it in a pot, you can use it in a stick, whatever is more convenient for you, as we were talking about the different kinds of makeup earlier. This face will just have black and white on it, so a very small, limited little beginner's kit will get your actors ready to be able to do this. And since when you're acting, the most important part of expression is your eyes, that's what we're going to start on. Remembering that we do not want big, round area eyes, okay, like a scarecrow or something like that. We want them to be a little more menacing. And remember to play around and feel where the actual bones are. It is not a full spherical eye socket.
Now we'll start on the nose, remembering that we don't want to fill in a big jack-o'-lantern or scarecrow style of nose. You want to remember what is under that nose. Okay, the nose bone stops right in here, which is the black part we want to fill in. However, if he's old, if he's decrepit, the cartilage pieces that are down the center of that are going to be cracked and chipped. So you may not even want to have a nice smooth line, even if it isn't a triangle shape. Now, the second most important part is to remember when you're looking at a skeleton, the cheekbones, how that goes in. All right, we're not going to be doing as detailed a skeleton face to be painting in all the different teeth, because that's very time consuming, and we'll just, unless you have a very experienced actor or a makeup artist doing it, you may not want to bother with that. We are going to give you some other techniques that will look just as nice, and we can save time with that. But to start our more skeletal looking cheekbone effects, we will simply start with drawing a line right where that cheekbone would be. As you can see, we're starting to take shape here now, starting to actually look like something. Once you get these cheekbones in, he stops looking like a little deranged panda bear and starts looking a little scary. Now, the trick we use for not having to paint in all the different teeth is pretty simple. First, a simple line like this that will start to give the illusion that the mouth is a little open by the time we're done. It's not a bad version of a crow makeup here. Technically, you could almost be done here and go ahead and powder, but there's some little small, nice detail things that if your actor can get this far and he's comfortable, you should start having them add in, such as hardening in the jawline a little bit. Okay, that can also be a blessing if you're trying to take a couple of pounds off of yourself when you're doing this. Another good detail is the temple area. And if you actually feel in here, you can feel that there's quite the ridge at the edge, and then there's a little sunken down part right past the eye socket. And the last bit of detail you might want to add, and you need to think about whether he's wearing a big hood or a hat even, or a skull cap or a wig, but a little forehead detail, because if it is going to be showing all of this face, then it's pretty plain up there still.
Yeah, for the whole 2 days he was.
All right, now our last step is to powder down the makeup. And any baby powder will do. If you're doing, you probably want to use an unpigmented powder because you don't want to tone down the black too much. There's clown white powder, so if you're doing a full white face, you could powder down with that and it would help keep everything pure white, but it would substantially gray out the blacks on any of these faces. The main thing to remember is that you want to press the powder in. Okay, the whole idea, reason to powder is to pull the grease out of the grease paint, just leaving the pigment on the face. Close. Our last step is to brush off the excess powder. As you can see, he looks pretty chalky, but as the powder's been sitting there, it will be soaking up the grease paint. A blush brush, a soft baby brush, even a really, really soft paint brush from putting on polyurethane, something like that, will be able to take off the excess powder. Well, that's about it as far as a simple to do Grim Reaper face that most of your actors should be able to learn how to do in 15 or 20 minutes. Or at the very least, it's always a good refresher course for any makeup artist you might have on staff. It never hurts to learn somebody else's style and get different ideas from watching different people. Now, to complete the look, remember to accessorize properly. You want to have a nice costume, you want to make sure all your skin is covered, gloves one way or another, either gloves or paint, whatever's going to work best for you, and head coverings. If you're going to wear a wig, you're going to want to keep long hair up in a skull cap or a stocking cap. That also allows the actor to sweat into the skull cap instead of sweating into the wig. Or we're very fortunate with Chris in that he doesn't have much hair, so a wig popped right on. So our finished product, I think you'll see, looks pretty good. Now, even though this was a simple face, the whole outfit combined is plenty good enough to be outside and front and plenty of light to see. Although obviously this could still be used for jumping out at people, scream and run. They don't get a really good glimpse of you. The main thing here is a nice simple face that the actors can learn how to do themselves and feel comfortable with what they're doing.
Well, we hope that was informative, don't we? One extra thing, if you're going to be doing photography with your actors, you may want to take a warm, damp washcloth to help blot up some of the extra powder that is on the face. For you see, the flash might react with the powder and lose some of the detail you've just tried so hard to put on the face. And now, I'm Gravely Macabre, that's all we have, and we'll take you back to Dr. Frightener with Hauntworld Part 37.
Now we're going to end this tape. I know that a lot of you are probably at this point wishing that, why did I watch another one of these tapes? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I don't think I ever will. I don't understand why I make them. Because I'm just not good enough. And I need Stuart Smalley to come here and tell me that I'm good enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. I have to believe that at some point in time. But anyway, getting back to the point, what we're going to do is we're going to end this tape with some footage of some haunted houses that Halloween Productions built in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. One is a darkness and one is a TerraVisions in 3D. So you're going to get a first-hand look at how we do when we build a mobile darkness or a 3D mobile haunted house. So take a look at that. credits will start to roll, the tape will be over, and of course, remember, I told you that, that there's going to be a thing at the end where I'm going to talk about the Hauntworld sponsorship program. Now, one last thing before you go. Dr. Frightener is somewhere out there in the spirit world, and maybe by the next tape or the tape after that, he may return. We just have to hope and pray that that happens. And until then, I'll see you on Hauntworld Part 6 and maybe 67 and on beyond that. And I'll also see you online on the chat boards on Hauntworld.com. Thanks a lot, everybody.
every breath, the air grows stale. Deathly cold winds howl and wail. Raging thunder pounds like drums when something wicked this way comes.
So we hope you enjoyed Hauntworld the Movie Part 5. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We're not always uploading old, footage from the 90s and 2000s. We are putting new footage up, and we have some really cool videos coming your way. Not necessarily all haunted, but make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you visit hauntworld.com to find the best haunted houses, and we update the blog on the front page so you can get the latest and greatest haunted house news. So we'll see you next time. Until then, happy haunting.
For scary videos and more, subscribe to our YouTube page, Hauntworld.com.